Thanks very much for the introduction and for the invitation to participate here with TU Dublin. Really appreciate it. Thanks very much. So I'm just going to bring my presentation on there. There we go. So what I'm going to talk about, first of all, I'm Audrey McPartlin. I'm an Employer Relations Officer in the Department of Social Protection. But then you say, well, what's Intreo? What Intreo is, it's the single point of contact for all employment and income supports. Okay, so really it's the brand name, for where people go to access the full range of supports from the department. So whether it's maternity benefit, children's allowance, illness payments, disability payments, old age pensions, job seekers payments, they're all done through the Intreo office. And we have public offices in every county or in the country, so it is very accessible. And it's also the National Employment Services, because that's where we're based with Intreo. So as well as providing job seekers with a payment, we complement this by linking in with employers so that we can assist job seekers back into the workplace and also help the employer in finding new staff. So we provide employers with recruitment supports, with financial supports, accessibility supports, work experience programs, and I'm going to talk a bit about those now. So what we can do is advertise your vacancies. So we have our own website, jobs website, which is jobsireland.ie. And you can advertise your vacancies for free on that. We can also match you with candidates from the live register who can suit your vacancies. We organise jobs fairs. So in the past, you probably would have been aware, there would have been a big jobs fair every year in Dublin Castle. But obviously with COVID, we couldn't do that this year. So instead, what we have done is we've done a number of online jobs fairs for employers, and they have worked out very successful in matching employers and job seekers together. And then we also have employer engagement teams throughout the country. So in every part of the country, we have employer relations team to help employers, and they can offer advice on the supports and the services. There's also a service that you may not have heard of before, which is Eures, which is the European Employment Services. So this is a network of employment services covering all of Europe, as well as Iceland, Liechtenstein, Norway and Switzerland. So if you were having difficulty in recruiting in Ireland, this could be a very useful resource. And the Eures advisors offer free advice on recruitment, promoting vacancies in Europe, and providing information to job seekers in the EU, as well as offering financial supports. Maybe if somebody had to, travel for an interview, or if they were offered a job and then had to relocate. So that's what Eures is all about. And the thing about Eures is that you don't have to receive the job seekers payment to be eligible for it. It's open to anybody in the EU to avail of those services. So next up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about some of the financial grants and supports that are available. So what's on screen there now at the moment is Jobs Plus. So that's the primary grant scheme from the Department of Social Protection to employers. And what that does is it offers grants of €7,500 or €10,000 over 2 years to employers who take on eligible job seekers. So for example, if you were to hire a person under 30 years of age who is 4 months or thereabouts in receipt of a job seeker's payment, you could qualify for a grant of €7,500 over 2 years. So the way the grant is determined, it's based on the age of the job seeker and how long they have been out of work. And this grant is paid directly into your bank account each month in arrears. The job needs to be a full-time job, and what that means is over 30 hours a week. There's no limit on how many full-time staff you can hire under that scheme. And I suppose in the times that we're in at the moment, it also includes people who have been on PUP payments, so they can be eligible for it, as well as also people who may have been signing on for credits. The next, schemes that I'm going to talk about are ones that are in relation to hiring people with disabilities. So the first one up there is the wage subsidy scheme. That offers financial support to employers who employ a person with a disability and who have a loss of productivity of 20% or more. And so the employment would be for 21 up to a maximum of 39 hours per week. So under this scheme, the employee would receive the same wages and salary as anybody else doing the same job, but the grant that's available is there to help cover the shortfall in productivity. So it works out at an hourly rate of $5.30 per hour, and that up to for a 39-hour week over a year, that works out at €10,748. Okay, so with that scheme, there's no duration or limit on that scheme. You know, it doesn't run out after a year or 2 years. For as long as that person is working for you, and once they're doing between the 21 and 39 hours a week, you're eligible for that particular payment, which is good to know. Like, I mean, I've had a lad on that for over 12 years, so it's great for keeping people in the job. The next one then that's up is the Disability Awareness Support Scheme. So this particular scheme covers for if you want to provide disability awareness training for your staff. And it would cover stuff, for example, maybe like legislation and information on mental health, things like that. So depending on the size of your organisation, you know what I mean? Like it's up to €20,000 is available under that scheme to provide training for your staff. So even if you have a small amount of staff, you know, you'll still get something towards that. The next scheme then that's up is the Employee Retention Scheme. So this particular scheme, so you could, like, stuff happens. You could have somebody that's working for you that has an accident and maybe it's made the return to employment difficult. You could have somebody that develops an illness. But this particular grant is there to make changes to the accommodation for the employee. So whether it's making the office more accessible, whether it's providing training to enable your employee to continue working in your company, whether it's going to be in the same job or in a new role within the company, that's what that grant is there. And they've worked it out in 2 stages. So the first stage is maybe to hire a specialist in who's going to evaluate the employee and conduct an assessment so that what they call a retention strategy can be drawn up. And there's 2,500 available for that. And then on to the second stage then, which is then whether it's going to be training the person, you know, to adapt to their new situation within the company, or whether it's to retrain them for another job within the company, or if a job coach is needed to offer support, you know, there would be somebody there that would have a specialist to manage that strategy. And there's the grant available on that is up to 12,500. The final, I suppose, grant on that screen then is the Work Equipment Adaptation Grant. And that offers grants to employees and to employers towards the cost of adaptations of equipment. So whether if you had somebody came in and they needed a special chair or special desk, or you had to buy specialist software, anything like that, that can all be covered under the Work Equipment Adaptation Grant. So it's up to 6,350 is the grant for that. But an excess of that could be considered if maybe specialist training was required, if it was assistive technology and maybe nobody else has it in the office, maybe this is the first person that's going to need it. Somebody's going to need to train the person in, and that's what the extra funding is there for, which is good to know. So the next slide here now is the Work Placement Experience Programme. This particular scheme launched just earlier this year. It replaced the YES scheme, the Youth Employment Support Scheme. The difference with the last scheme and this one is this particular one is aimed, you know, there's no age limit. It's open to job seekers 18 to 65 and on a relevant payment for at least 6 months. The previous scheme was only open to younger people. There's no cost for this scheme to the employer. What this scheme aims to do is to provide I suppose new skills through training and learning in a supportive environment. It's for 30 hours a week for 6 months, and participants get a top up on their weekly payment while they're participating on it. For the employer and the host company, it's a chance to get new talent onto their team. It's the chance to identify possible future employees for the company. And should the placement work out, then there's also then possibly then to revert back then to Jobs Plus to get a grant to take that person on. So which is good to know as well. And finally, my last slide here. What I have on this is the email address for my team here, so which is the employerrelations@welfare.ie. So where I'm based here in Parnell Street in Dublin, but our team covers all of the East Coast, if you like, you know, Dublin and Mid-Leinster, so from Balbriggan down to Arklow. But we do have teams right across the country. But if anybody's on the call here today and would like some more information on any of the items that I covered, you talk to us, just drop an email. Myself and my colleagues will get back to you as soon as possible. And we're looking forward to hearing from you. And hopefully we'll see you in the business pages soon with your new businesses up and running. So best of luck to everybody on the call. Thank you.